was a number of people who said, I've never seen anyone give any advice on the featured section. So do you want to talk a little bit about what the featured section is on your LinkedIn profile for people who don't know, and how you would go about adding that? And then have you got any best practice tips in terms of how you've seen people using that part of their profile?
No, absolutely, Tony, yes. Well, the featured section, you will see it on some profiles. You may not see it on your own unless you've actually activated it, of course. But it allows you to have large panels of links or media appearing at the top of your profile in a kind of carousel. So you can scroll across and you can see other pieces of information. As a default, you'll see 3 pieces there if you've got 3 added. And you can then scroll across and you can see more information. Now, this can be anything. It can be video. It can be a document. It can be a PDF file. It can be a link to a website. It can be a link to anything that's online. So it can be a link to your booking mechanism. One thing you can also add, which is quite useful, is if you have a newsletter on LinkedIn, which you can do if you switch on the creator mode, which we might, I think, have questions about that later on. But what you can do is have a link to that, which allows people to click on once and just subscribe to your newsletter. So that's something that's quite powerful. So the featured section is images and links and live content that people can interact with. And that's the great thing about it, is it's interactive. They can scroll across and they can have a look at it. They can click through to see more. So it's a very powerful way of illustrating what you do or what your company does or what services or products you provide. And it's right up at the top of your profile. To add it to your profile, you simply go to the blue button that's below your profile when you're editing it, which says add a profile section. And then you go to the, let me just check this because it's something that's, it's become a slightly more complicated process than it used to be. But you go to add profile section, the button, and then you go to the subsection called recommended. And then that will appear with the add featured, and it will add a featured section to your profile. So it's quite a straightforward process, but it's definitely worth thinking about the content that you have there before you add anything to it. So what I would recommend you have in terms of content is how you would normally take a customer through their journey to becoming one of your customers. So give them some taster information, give them some free advice, give them some downloads or PDF files or interactive documents, something that they can get their teeth into without making a big commitment, without saying, yes, I want to buy your service. People want to have a little look around. They want to kind of kick the tires a little bit before they make a full commitment to you. And they want to know a little bit more about you. They want to know about your credibility, about your customers. So what I would recommend is you have early introductory information there in your featured section. And also what you can do is you can have things that people can look at in their own leisure time. So you can have quite lengthy documents. It doesn't have to be all fast and simple and short to the point. Obviously that's quite good to do in terms of a website or a landing page, but people actually still read long form content. So definitely worth looking at that and saying, okay, let's tell you the full story. Let's give you lots of detail. Let's give you lots of customer testimonials. It's also worth thinking about the fact that you can add a lot of media. You can add images, you can add photographs, you can add PDF documents that people can look through here. And so the content of the featured section can also be updated by your own content on LinkedIn. What you can do when you create a post on LinkedIn is you can click on the 3 dots at the top right and then just say, add that to my featured section. And it will appear as the latest piece of content on the left-hand side of the carousel. So if you've got a post which has been engaged with quite a lot, there's lots of comments, there are lots of reactions to it, and it's dealing with a topic of your kind of core area of expertise, why not add it to your featured section so people can see that you've got good interaction on LinkedIn, they can see you're active on LinkedIn, because that's also a feature that people look for. They don't want someone who just jumps in on LinkedIn and dumps their content and then disappears again. Generally speaking, people want people who are spending more time on the platform, who are interacting with people and are having a conversation on LinkedIn rather than a monologue where they're just broadcasting. So the featured section can be very powerful, and it's not difficult to find ideas for content to add into that. But when you see a profile with a featured section and you compare it with a profile which doesn't have a featured section, the difference can be quite stark because of all that nice eye candy. It's the kind of stuff that fuels Instagram and Facebook, is images, video, moving images, and color. That's exactly what you can add to your profile. So rather than being slightly monochrome and full of text, it becomes much more lively and it engages people in their visual cortex, where their brain works and stimulates itself in a completely different way to what it does when it sees text. It's part of the primal lizard brain responds to images particularly, and it does that much faster than it does to text. So the featured section is one of these powerful things that I would recommend everyone investigates, and certainly you should add it to your profile if you're trying to sell your services on LinkedIn.